So we have our last two guests for this program is two exchanges that weren't mentioned by Owen, but Polybird and ADAX. Let me put them on. Okay, so I see Wojciech is here. Hi,
Hello.
How are you?
I am.
This is Wojciech from ADAX, and we also have Harish from Polybird. We don't see your video, Harish. If you want to turn on your video, it's on your left in the bottom. So this is our audience for tonight. And
Hello everybody.
Had quite an interesting event. Harish, I can't hear you.
Yeah, not again. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you yet. So if you want to turn on your video, that would be great. So how are you guys today? Oh yeah, there you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Wait, let me lower the video screen so you can see at least me.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So thank you so much for joining us. And I want to start with each of you. Let's start with you, Wojciech. Talk a little bit about your background. I know that you've also come from a traditional finance space. Why are you in the exchange space for security tokens, and what you think is going to happen in 2020?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Wojciech. I am more than 20 years in the space. I was working for a different fintech-alike companies in the past. In 1999, I set up a first payment system in my country. Then, sorry guys, as I told you, Yael, I'm with kids today. I started my career in 1999 in the space. Then I introduced to the market several players from the stock exchange trading system, like this group from Milan, or part of the London Stock Exchange Gateway. We set up systems for the stock exchange brokers, for the stock exchanges as itself as well as a currency market. And for us, when the FOMO, I would say, about the tokenization, digital assets came, it was not like something new, it was just another asset class. Yeah? Because the beginning of the blockchain is already more than 10 years ago. Yes, I mean, we were doing systems like blockchain more than 10 years ago. I mean, what's new and what happened on the market is the Bitcoin itself, which thanks to the fact that it's the most known and valuable digital asset, brought the attention to the distributed systems, the blockchains as itself, and the digitalization, and the digitization of the assets as well. So that's my background. So I'm in the fintech space for 20 years. What I think about 2020, before I will go into this direction, let me just state one thing, which is very important in my opinion for the industry. When security tokens came like 2 years ago, people said it's something that will change the space of ICOs. I think that this is a big misunderstanding. I mean, the only thing which is in common between STOs and ICOs is the usage of the blockchain. STOs is a totally different mechanism. It's the possibility to tokenize an asset. And then when we talk about the security token offering, we always talk about the digital asset which is backed by the physical asset. I mean, it can be real estate, it can be equity, it can be debt. But security token is always backed by something what is physical. And I believe that this is something which will bring those two worlds together. By those two worlds, I mean the traditional finance and the new economy, which is everything about the tokenization, Bitcoins and so on. So this is a very good sign for the mass adoption. Thanks to the security token offerings, traditional economy will bring a lot of value to the digital economy, and I hope that 2020, end of the year, we will stop talking about the traditional finance, new finance. We will just talk about the tokenization, tokenized assets, and how this phenomenon will bring much more value to the market.
Yeah, thank you, Wojciech. So Harish, you with us? Hi.
Yes.
All right. So I've read quite a few about your exchange as well, quite a few things, and I noticed that you have some really impressive advisors that also come from traditional markets, and I was wondering what attracted them to the space, and also early on in 2018, 2019, and what is, according to you, the biggest added value of the security token space to the traditional finance, or to the people attracted to that space?
Sure. First of all, hi from New York, based out of New York City, regulated under SEC FINRA. We are a global trading venue for securities tokens. So my background particularly is from, I started my career at Morgan Stanley headquarters in New York, moved to Barclays Asia, and most recently, after leaving Barclays Asia, I started my career in blockchain as running a global trading venue for securities tokens. The advisors we have, most of them are from Wall Street as well. Previously, they were leading various financial institutions that you may very well know of, and you can take a look at our website called polybird.io, polybird.io. Advisors are mostly attracted to our platform because they see a clear use case in traditional assets that need a liquidity platform. In the US particularly, there's a big issue that if you were to take a traditional asset and put it on an exchange, it's extremely hard. Big companies can easily do it because they have a lot of resources and hence they can IPO, but not a whole lot of people have that kind of money to spend on the whole process. So if you look at the numbers, not only just in the US, but also in very advanced financial markets, the number of IPOs have been decreasing over the last 20 years. So more and more companies are going less public, or less and less companies are going private, whereas the private markets are expanding at a very rapid rate. But there is no such platform for private markets in general where you can trade these assets. And the biggest challenge is taking any security through the platform. So what blockchain does is the moment you tokenize an asset, the whole gap between taking the asset and putting it on the exchange platform becomes extremely easy, because all you need to do is transfer the assets from one party to another. And here, the another party for us is the custodian, which is a US qualified custodian as well. So the moment this phenomenon becomes simple, all you gotta do is you look at any asset class, whether that's real estate funds, venture capital, private equity, hedge funds, private company shares, various kinds of bonds, credit. All you need to do is just deposit those assets to our custodian, which takes less than 5 minutes, and then you have to go through, and of course before you have to go through a legal due diligence to ensure that we are ready to accept that asset to allow listing and trading on our platform. The asset is tradable globally while being regulated under the SEC FINRA. So we are getting a lot of assets from all across the world at this point. And yeah, I hope that gives you a bit of introduction.
Yeah, definitely. I am really, in general, not surprised anymore, but in security token space, attracts a lot of financial professionals, fintech professionals, people from Wall Street and so on. So, very, very different from the whole ICO space and IEO space. So I think that tells you something about this industry and why one should have faith in this evolution of the crypto and blockchain. So I have a question to you both, and let's start with you, Wojciech. What are the main hurdles in this industry, and also what are the main opportunities that you see?
It's a good question, because basically security tokens are always more related to the asset than ICO. So let's keep the whole discussion about
Something's happening.
in the tokenization of the assets. We always talk about the derivative, because
network problem.
I think the network is down because I hear some noise.
highly regulated area, which is always tough discussing with some Security and Exchange Commission or any individuals which are in the space. I think this hurdle for us now is to understand how to implement the instrument worldwide. Because today we have several solutions for that. We have solutions which is working for US market. We have solutions which are working for the Asian markets. We have solutions working for European market. But there is no one single solution that works for all. For example, if we say about the US companies, we are working today with several companies who want to tokenize their assets. And basically, in order to do that, they have to come to the quite tough procedure. They have to come or through Reg S or preferable through Reg A. I think that Harish will explain a little bit more about that. But we have a situation whether an asset can be tradable only on a specific period of time and only between a specific, let's say, users, like accredited investors. Yes? What I want to say by that? I want to say that the legal framework is not yet prepared for the free world that tokenization of the asset brings. And this is the biggest hurdle. Yes? So, for example, in order to avoid that, we created as ADAX a few companies, we obtained few licenses, and we are working with the brokerage houses in Europe. So our framework is fully legal. But honestly, if the let's say regulations would be prepared on time, it should not be needed. Yes, I mean it should be like this: that a single company should obtain a specific license in a specific jurisdiction in order to be able to offer this instrument to the market. What is the opportunity? I mean, we all see traditional finance, traditional stock exchange market, which is struggling with the lack of liquidity. I mean, the biggest exchanges take over the smaller exchanges, not because they like to do so, but because of the liquidity. Yes, I mean, the liquidity of the market goes down. It goes to the, let's say, alternative trading system. It goes into the tokenization of the assets, but liquidity is the biggest obstacle and the biggest opportunity. Because if we will find a legal way how to really make this tokenized assets tradable worldwide, we will solve the problem of the liquidity.
Cool. Harish, do you have something to add to that? I would love to hear from Harish about specifically this issue of liquidity. You know, as somebody coming from Wall Street, you know that even in traditional markets, you sometimes experience periods of diminished liquidity. And in this industry, how are we going to ensure that people are going to want to buy these security tokens that are rooted in some asset that they may or may not understand? How do you see liquidity coming to this market?
So liquidity is definitely the number one, value proposition that any trading venue comes in with, right? So when we say we have a license for ATS, which is Alternative Trading Systems, and what we are looking to provide is list your tokenized assets on our global venue. So that's one thing that we do, but I think liquidity means something that needs to be built rather than it coming naturally. It also depends from asset class to asset class as well. So, something like equity, which is getting tokenized, will probably may have more liquidity than something like real estate. And just being liquid, it doesn't solve many problems because it also comes with other issues such as taxes, such as transfer of money internationally. But so one thing that comes into play is we want to go global. We are global, but and we want to be liquid, but these have their own obstacles and challenges as well. So if current financial institutions, they haven't gone fully global, is because there are existing regulatory framework which to cater to. They did not deem it economical, but for us to make a business out of the current existing going global, as well as liquid, we have to be able to appreciate the existing legal framework, tax framework, money movement framework, and so on.
Okay, and do you guys incorporate any of these in your exchange specifically, providing these services or work with service providers that could figure it out?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, let's say if we are to deal with selling securities internationally, now that has two parts. One is the primary market, where the issuer is raising capital, and the other is secondary market, where the securities changes hands between investors only and doesn't go to the initial issuer who raised capital on the security. So when you're looking to raise initial capital, that is the primary market, which in the current scenario is called STOs. So what we have enabled is that the STOs can be conducted on the platform itself, that it seems like a direct listing from on a global platform where the investors can buy the token directly from the platform. But that only, the existing license we have, it only allows us to do business in the US. But through a network of broker-dealers all across the world, whether that's in Canada, UK, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong. So we have a network of broker-dealers, Latin America, we have a network of broker-dealers. If an investor comes on the platform and say, I want to buy a security, he comes in via the channel of that particular broker network. Everything happens on our front end only, but legally speaking, we are using a network of broker-dealers to stay compliant. So that's the first thing. Secondary markets, again, this is just one example that you cannot do everything by yourself and alone. You have to have a solid network of people, partners supporting you, whether that's in raising capital, in providing liquidity, whether that's tax framework, legal framework, whether that's money movement. You need a set of partners who are helping you to get there. So technologically, you can use someone, say Stripe, to raise money internationally, or someone who has a stable coin or crypto, or and that legal part is solved by the network of broker-dealers. So you solve the legal part via a network of broker-dealers, and technologically, if it's money movement, then you solve it via a technological partner like Stripe. Whatever that is, the answer is that you have to have a lot of support from the ecosystem across, rather than doing everything by yourself.
Okay, that's a really interesting point. And Wojciech, I want to hear from you about this big network of exchanges. Right now, there are very few exchanges that have security token licenses, but I'm assuming that they're going to be more in the near future, and you have obviously all the crypto exchanges that are doing IEOs, the well that's been drying out and will dry out even faster now. Do we see, number one, collaboration between different exchanges, or maybe consolidation? And also, how do we see the smaller kind of or crypto exchanges vis-a-vis traditional big guys, regular exchanges that are also going to start trading security tokens soon? Wojciech, are you with us? Yeah. I think your internet may not be the best, so you can turn off your video. Maybe it'll go faster. Wojciech? Okay, so...
Maybe I'll try that now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Harish can jump in then, and then Wojciech can contribute. Okay, Harish, so what do you think? Are we gonna see consolidation of exchanges, or we're gonna see collaboration, and how do we all
Absolutely.
go against the big...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, you have to look at the history of crypto market. So first came Bitcoin, right? And then we had Coinbase and a lot of crypto exchanges who were only allowing trading of Bitcoin, right? The next part was altcoins, and there were 10 of them. So Coinbase started to provide, among other exchanges, 10 cryptocurrencies to trade on the platform, right? And then we have different crypto exchanges all across the world who are providing 10 crypto on the platform. The next part was the ICO movement. And then we have about thousands of ICOs trading the market. So then came in Binance. So Binance built a business model, not on selling Bitcoin only, but it provides like hundreds of ICO coins on the platform, right? But as you can see, the ICO movement is dying, if not it's already dead. The next part will be the STOs. So the market is evolving. It has evolved in the past from Bitcoin to 10 altcoins to 100 ICOs to 1,000 STOs. Right? So the next generation of companies which are going to, the next generation of exchanges which are going to dominate the market will be the STO exchanges, and this has already happened in the past, and the market has been evolving in that route. So after seeing this particular trend, it made most sense for us to build this company, which was regulated, catering to the STOs, which we believe is the next generation of evolution in the crypto market. Plus, the United States securities market is the largest in the world, so it's a good place to start with. And then you can also cater to a lot of international stocks and bonds on our platform. So which is how we have placed ourselves, in this particular place rather than anywhere else.
Okay, that's really interesting that you are going to be placing, traditional stocks and bonds on the platform. It kind of is a hybrid,
The traditional stocks and bonds which are private, which do not have an exchange to go to. So you're not going to cater to someone that's already on NASDAQ or NYSE, right? If they're already there, then they don't need another exchange to cater to. You need an exchange when you don't have an exchange. That's where we come in.
These are private markets. Private markets. Yeah. Okay, amazing. Wojciech, I think you got better internet now. So, awesome. So I would like to hear from you about possibilities of consolidation and working in the market which has a lot of competition, especially from the big and established exchanges.
I mean, my opinion is the following one. As long as there will be no clear regulation regarding the crypto space in general, the traditional exchanges will not step into the field fully. So there will be always a space for the exchanges like Harish just mentioned, I mean the private market, yes, like dark pools or any other exchanges that will work for the specific amount of the investors willing to trade private. We as ADAX took a little bit different approach because our experiences, we are from the stock exchange market, we are from the compliance market. What we are doing is to bring the security token offering and the security token secondary market closer to the regulations. So the brokers can expose their customers to the security tokens without breaching the current law. And basically, this is an approach which allows us to go in compliant way into the space, but we know that sooner or later, big exchanges like NASDAQ or London Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, they will get into the space as well, but that requires the regulation. The problem is that, how to say, I mean,
There are no problems.
destroys a little bit a lot of different interests. For example, custody part. Yes, I mean, you know that in a traditional finance there are always national custodians that hold the assets. I mean, the stock which are traded on New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, wherever else. Yes, I mean, in terms of blockchain, such player is no longer needed because a blockchain is a natural custodian by itself. So basically there is a lot of space that regulators have to think about before even they will start to provide the right regulations to the market. So in my opinion, the real, let's say, entrance to the market of the exchanges like NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, it's still like 3-4 years from now.
All right, well that gives us some hope. All right, guys, I want to ask you.
It's not a hope.
Yeah.
It's not a hope. If I could ask, it would be much better if the regulation would come sooner, because basically this market has to be regulated. But today, no one knows in which direction it will go.
I understand. So regulation is both an obstacle and an opportunity, right, for businesses like this. Do you guys see a space for industry-specific exchanges, let's say in exchange for real estate asset-backed tokens, or maybe pharma patent-backed, or green energy-backed, and so on? Do you see those springing up separately?
Of course. I mean, in my opinion, this is exactly what is. Let's say, the opportunity for the security token offering or security token exchanges in general, secondary market approach, yes. I spoke with people who are big consumers of energy, for example, yes. I mean, they pay a lot of money to the energy exchanges and they have no idea for what. They are going to create an internal exchange, their own market, to trade exactly their own specific assets. Yes, and I believe same kind of the approach is needed in the real estate space. Why? Because the most important part of the security tokenization is not just the tokenization, but it's the information and the fair value of the instrument. I mean, there is a need from the market that someone confirms or it is somehow confirmed that if I buy a token which is valued on $1, for example, that it is really, the fair value is $1. Because today, even the tokens which are traded publicly, it's a big speculation because there is no clear regulation what kind of data should be provided. For example, if you will look on this traditional stock exchange market, there are obligations and each company has to go through a list of the obligations in order to be listed. The information has to be published quarterly, monthly, yearly. If something significant will happen, they have to provide this information as well. There is no such regulation for now to the security token offering. That's why I believe that there will be, let's say, niche exchanges which will win the battle by providing fair information to the investor. So when they invest in the token, they know whether they did good or bad decision.
Okay, I like that. As a real estate backed issuance and trading platform, SolidBlock is planning to enter the game as well. So I like that prognosis. So Harish, I want to hear from you about 2020. What do you think is going to be the biggest trend? And give us with some final words of wisdom from your end.
Sure. First of all, we are getting a lot of deals from big private equity firms, hedge funds, venture capitals, private companies, stocks and bonds, all in the private markets. So getting deal flow is not an issue at this point. So our regulatory partner is partnered with NASDAQ as well as Euronext. Right now we see a gap in companies who are looking to take assets and tokenize them. Let's say we have a big PE firm come to us and we want to put it on a platform. We cannot, because we need to first tokenize them, and we are not spending resources right now in tokenizing them. So we are looking for partners who can help us tokenize assets. So what we are doing right now is we have companies come in for X asset. We look for tokenizers who are tokenizing that kind of assets. We have certain kind of asset coming to us for let's say it's a bond. So we have a dedicated company that only tokenizes bonds. So we give it to them and they tokenize it, bring it back to us. So right now we are making a channel partners who can help us tokenize assets, and that can come to us. One thing that distinguishes us from other security token exchanges in the US is because the names that you may have heard of, those companies allow customers to hold their assets in the Google Chrome on MetaMask, and hence they allow custodianship of the assets by themselves, and customers hate it. What we do is, we, just like Binance and other large companies, in the crypto space, we allow the traders and institutional investors or individual investors to custody their assets through our platform. And customers love it. So some of the big names that have come in the US as security token exchanges, we see them as failed. We have learned from their failures, and we are going live in Q1, and we are ready to learn from the failures of other US players and establish our name both here in the United States as well as globally.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, and thanks for participating. And Wojciech, I want to hear from you, your final words of wisdom for 2020 and what you guys are planning to do.
In my opinion, companies like SolidBlock, we all need partners. I mean, we are just secondary market and we want to stay a secondary market. What is the future of this industry? It's just the buy side. I mean, if you will not have the buy side on your platform, you can have big names, big projects, but without the buy side, without liquidity, you will not survive. Yes, that's why we took our approach to the brokerage houses, because we want to have the buy side. And I believe that in next year there will be some regulatory approach allowing people from the brokerage houses, from the investment banks, from the funds to trade security tokens. And that will be a big adoption for the market, and that will be something that will open a lot of doors. Because today everybody are